Good evening, my children. We have a lot to talk about tonight, and I have a bit of a conundrum, and I'll get your opinion, your advice on this. But first, there's something I want to share with you. I got a message, and it's both kind of sad and tragic because it deals with some sad and realities, but it's also touching at the same time. Now, let me say about my life vlog. I started the beginning of 2014, I think, where this is just my life vlog that you guys are used to seeing, where it follows me around, shows my, a bit into my day-to-day life. And I started that at the beginning of 2014. I didn't know how long I was going to keep it going for, but last year I decided I was going to stop it at episode 200. I thought 200, that's a lot of episodes of kind of the same type of content, and that's a good place to stop. 200. Well, yesterday I just uploaded episode 201, so I guess that kind of goes out the window. But for a while, I didn't even know if I was going to make it to episode 200 because I actually quit it for a while. And a lot of people don't know this, but actually, the last one that until recently, the last vlog of my life vlog series that we shot was actually Thanksgiving Day of last year, last November. And I didn't shoot a single vlog until the past couple weeks. Now, I uploaded a couple vlogs in January, I believe, but those were actually shot the previous year. Those were actually shot before the one in Thanksgiving. So I did the Thanksgiving vlog. People watched it, people liked it, but after that, I didn't feel motivated to do any more. I didn't see any really reason to doing number one. And I was going to stop after number 200, but I was thinking, geez, I'm not even going to make it to 200. I guess this is just it. And I wasn't going to announce the end of the vlog. I'm not a guy that's real big on announcements. I just kind of do things. And I didn't feel the need to make a big announcement that, hey, I'm stopping it. So I just stopped it. But in this year, recently, I started vlogging again, and now we reached episode 200, and I was going to quit. I figured I got to at least make it to episode 200 before I quit. So I started again this year after not vlogging since Thanksgiving of the previous year. So I got to 200, and I actually reached 201, and that's kind of maybe an odd number to end on, 201. I plan to end on 200. But I want to share you something that relates. We got a message from one of our patrons, a member of our Patreon family, to support us. We have the link in the description to support us on Patreon. We're very grateful to everyone that does. And even those of you that don't support us there, hopefully you appreciate the people that do because they help us bring these videos to you. This channel has been my hobby and a love of mine for the past almost 11 years ago when I started this. And I was watching a video the other day, and someone was saying, even if you're doing YouTube as a hobby, you need to find a way to make money doing it because you're going to have a lot of expenses along the way. Creating videos, especially quality videos, it takes money to do that. Your computer's going to break down from time to time. You're going to need new cameras. I've had to do all that. Like I've spent thousands of dollars on cameras over the years. So I've had to buy new cameras. Now I've been having a lot of problems with my computer. I'm going to need to replace that. So there is a cost associated with this. I know a lot of people don't realize that, but I got this message that I will share with you now. And I'm not going to say his name because I'm not sure if he wants me sharing some of this personal information, but I'll just try and share the pertinent parts. And he said, I mentioned this on one of the other live streams, like that this is not a channel that I'm going to keep going forever. I don't know when I'll end it. The vlog the life vlog series, that will be ended
Well,
sooner rather than later. Go
allow
ahead.
me to interrupt you. Hi, guys. I guess you also have to make it clear to them because you mentioned you were not really feeling motivated. That's why we had a long break somehow of doing uploading live vlogs.
Well, I'm also at the point in my life where we have a lot of other things going, and to keep this hobby going and sharing these things with you guys, it takes a lot out of me. It takes a lot of time and energy and effort, and I have other responsibilities, so it's maybe not so responsible always to focus on the YouTube channel. I know a lot of people don't understand that. That's just why I'm sharing these things with you. but I will share what this guy that supports us on Patreon had to say. Basically, without giving away too much of his personal information, he's in a situation where he actually makes quite a bit of money. He makes a little bit less than $100,000 US, which I would say that's a lot of money. I think
Is
most
that annually or monthly?
annually. Well, if it was monthly, he'd be a millionaire.
Okay.
But I think to most people in the US, that's a lot of money when you're approaching that six-figure mark. But he's in a situation where he's divorced, and so he ends up living on just a small fraction of the money that he actually earns. It's kind of funny because there's a TV show we've been watching where the one of the main characters is kind of in this situation. On the show WKRP in Cincinnati, the most popular DJ at this radio station, his name is Dr. Johnny Fever, and he makes a pretty good salary for the time. I read on Wikipedia, I think, that for adjusted for today's inflation, he would be making $80,000 a year as a radio DJ, which I would say most people would say that's a good living. But the character, he's been divorced twice, so he has these alimony payments. So he's basically living in poverty. And the message from this guy, he explains the situation. He's divorced. He lives on a very small fraction of what he actually earns, even though it sounds really impressive by how much money he earns. Like I hear someone making that much money, I'm like, whoa, this guy's really doing well in life. But then when you hear what he takes home, how it's just a small fraction that he actually gets to keep, it's really sad. And I've talked about that in some of my other videos, some of my talking videos. I have that one video that really blew up in the past year called the uh, Women Don't Want to Hear This Ugly Truth, or The Ugly Truth Women, or it's called This Ugly Truth Will Upset Women. And it talks about some of those issues, and I got so much amazing positive feedback from guys that watched that saying, yeah, this guy gets the struggle. And it's not that I'm divorced myself. It's one of those things that you don't have to actually have experienced it to know what it's like. In the United States, if you know any people at all, since over half the people these days are probably divorced, you know guys that are in this situation. So this is not an uncommon situation. But he said when you talked about that your channel might not be around forever, I felt a call to urgency, and he started supporting us on Patreon for $15 a month. And he really wants us to keep doing it. He says, I never support anyone. I bear the tithe at church, and that is mostly because I can't afford to. But I genuinely get something from you guys, and it helps me out in more ways than you know. So if you stop doing YouTube, I hope you do something else similar. Please don't take my suggestion as a requirement for support. And we got another message from him where after I emailed him back, and he said, your content is important enough for me that sacrificing a little cash is worth the help and hope that your content gives. Not to mention entertaining. When I need a laugh, I relate about many things in your vlogs, and he just wants to let us know. Let me see. He says his last point is, don't stop vlogging. It helps people more than you realize.
Aww.
Well, it is kind of sad to hear about a situation, which is unfortunate. Many guys are going through that, but it's so nice that he wants to support us. And it's nice that what we do means something to him, because as a creator, a lot of the times you don't really know. Sometimes you think, well, this doesn't really mean a lot to people, especially with YouTube algorithms always changing and fluctuating. And now you build up all these subscribers, and now in the past year, they've made it so subscribers are basically unimportant. They're almost doing away with that feature. And it's to the way YouTube works. If someone didn't just watch a video from you, if you upload a new one, even if they're subscribed to you, they'll probably never see it, probably never even be made aware that you released a new video, because that's just how YouTube works. So as a creator, you don't really know what these videos mean to people. So it's very nice to get words like that saying, don't stop vlogging, you don't know what it means. Now, I was going to stop at 200. I decided after that, stopping at Thanksgiving last year, which I think was around 190, something like that, 191. And then I decided this year, well, before I quit the Life Vlog series, I actually have to make it to 200. But now I'm in the I have the problem of, well, yesterday I uploaded number 201. I can't stop at that number. So I guess if I'm going to make any announcement about it, is I'm going to keep it going at least through the summer, I suppose. How does that sound to you? Is that okay with you?
I think so.
Since you're a part of it too.
Whatever you think is best.
So I think the plan for it is, I mean, unless like there's so much support, because it's just hard to keep pouring so much of my time, money, energy into this. Especially you don't always know if people really appreciate it. Maybe I'd rather do something else that I just enjoy more, or something that's a little bit of more interest to me. Because 200 episodes over the course of almost 4 years now, I mean, that's really a lot to do something. It used to be I would never repeat the same type of video I've done. Now I've done a regular series for 4 years and 200 episodes, and it's kind of like, well, what can you do different? It gets a little hard after that, but I do have some things coming up, really huge things, things that I don't really want to give away right now at this point. So probably through the summer, I'll keep it at least going through the summer. And like I said, I have some really major things happening that I think you guys are going to love. So we'll see what your reaction is. We'll see how much support it gets. That's actually why I killed off the Man on the Street series, because even though they were really good and the people that would watch it really loved it, it wasn't enough support to where it was worth my time and effort. It takes a lot of energy to do those videos, those Man on the Street videos where we go out and talk to everyday average people and give them a chance to give their opinion on a topic. The people that watch those absolutely loved them, but I mean, you guys got to share them, or something, because if they don't get the response, it's, especially something like that really takes a lot of effort and energy. I can't do it. So we'll see. Maybe I might kill it off after this summer. I decided to keep it going. Like I said, I can't really end on episode 201. What do you think?
We'll see. Well, me, I stay positive about it. And just in case for you guys who have not seen most of the videos on the channel yet, aside from the live vlogs, we also have other kinds of interesting, fun, informative, inspiring, entertaining content that you can watch. So check them out.
Even, yeah, and we got them organized by playlists. So whatever type of content you're interested in seeing, it's all pretty easy to find. Whether it's Man on the Street,
Right.
whether it's the vlog series, whether it's other random stuff, whether it's like the old short films that I used to do. So I made it all really easy for you guys to find.
And I was gonna make new playlists like behind the scene of, Travis's shoots for TV, movie, modeling projects, and the like, and other playlists just so it'll be easier for you to check out the videos that you might really want to watch first. Because there are a lot on this channel already, and we really thank you guys for your time, to watch, and most especially to share the videos. It's really very important and it matters a lot when you share the videos. I think it's very important. And of course, we also appreciate your comments.
So yeah, if I'm making any announcement, I guess it's going to be that. I think since I have so much big stuff coming up over the next few months, and some of you guys are going to like it, some of you guys are really going to love it, some of you guys are probably going to hate it, but whatever. I got to live my life and do what I want to do instead of just always trying to please other people. So we can get to a few of these comments and questions now that we got that little bit out of the way, and then we have a few
And
other things I want
right.
to
And
talk
of
about.
course, I would like us to send a shout out to our wonderful members of our Patreon family who are joining us on this live stream. Maybe we could go
Brian
check.
Michaluk is
Hi,
there.
Brian. How are you? How's Canada?
Yeah, and he actually says, "Live life, dude." Yeah, that's what I have to try and do. We got North Central Texas checking in. We got John says, "I agree. I really enjoy your videos. You both are amazing, amazingly honest people." Boy, John is opening up a whole other can of worms here, because that's really a problem that I've struggled with. And is what happened a few years ago. I started being more and more honest with people. And I think that that's kind of, in some ways, can really hurt you, because I've talked about before how if you really want to be popular, the best thing to do is just to tell people what they want to hear. But I felt a responsibility to be honest with people, because if you're not honest about certain things, I realized that some people were going to see my videos, then they were going to try and do stuff and they wouldn't be prepared and they might get hurt because it paints maybe an unrealistic picture of things. So I had to be, in the sake of helping others out, I had to be a lot more real with people. But once I started doing that, started being a little bit more real and honest about certain things in order to help protect people and keep people safe, boy, that's when I really started getting the hatred. And people are like, you shouldn't be saying these things. But those are people, of course, that don't care if you get hurt in life.
Right. Well, I'm sure some of you guys have heard this from our, previous live streams. We are honest in showing what it is there, what's there. Like whenever we vlog, we feature things. We're honest about it. It's not because we want to make the place or the people look bad, but it's more about to help the people concerned or the people who could be affected by the information or who could benefit from the information to be ready for whatever, to be safe and to be, wiser and be more prepared in general.
But John, bringing up the point of honesty, it actually helps me transition to exactly what I want to talk to next. Mm-hmm. And last week in our live stream, we had a lot about how there's so many people, there's so much fake stuff out there, so many people trying to fool you, so many videos on the internet that are actually fake, so many things going on in our societies that they're really just trying to fool you. They're trying to make you think one thing, but that person or things are actually the opposite. And it's funny, some people got really offended in last week's live stream, because it's funny, I talked about a few different things. One of them was Richard Spencer, and no one seemed offended by the talk about Richard Spencer. The other thing, and part of what I talked about with Richard Spencer is we don't really know what to make of him, because a lot of people think that he's not even real. He's not even legit of who he says he is. He could be an undercover CIA agent. We don't really know enough to judge him. We don't even know if he's sincere as to the way he presents himself and his viewpoints. It's funny because he's such a controversial figure. No one was offended by our talk about him. The thing that really offended people, though, was when I talked about the royal wedding, and I basically said, I believe it's kind of fake, maybe arranged. I don't know that that's the case, but certainly I don't really have any real reason to believe that it's all exactly the way they present it. I didn't buy into the official story, the official narrative of the glamorous royal wedding. And boy, did that make a lot of people angry. There was one guy that disagreed with me, and let me say, it's okay to disagree with me, but if you're going to disagree with me, you could at least be respectful. This guy got really triggered by it, and he said that was a moronic thing to say about the happiest day of these two people's lives. And I thought, the happiest day of these two people's lives? Well, what a moronic thing that is to say. How do you know that that's the happiest day of these two people's lives? Especially Prince Harry, a man. What man ever refers to their wedding day as the happiest day of my life? When you ask men, what's the happiest day of your life? Probably the number one answer you get is the day their children are born.
Well, let's see. What do you think, guys? I wanna hear from you guys as well.
But when you ask a guy, what's the happiest day of your entire life? The number one answer I hear is the day my children were born. And that's a perfectly acceptable, manly answer to give.
What if they don't have children yet?
Or the other thing that you hear after that is the day that they accomplished something really big. No man ever refers to his wedding day as the happiest day of my life. That's just not how men are. That in any man that says that would probably not be respected by other men. Now, on your wedding day, you probably will be happy. You'll probably have fun. That's normal. But to refer to it as the happiest day of my life, that's not how men are. Boys don't grow up fantasizing about the day they get married. That's something girls do. So not only was his statement moronic because he has no idea how these people really think and feel, as far as I'm concerned, they're all just putting on a show. They know it's a worldwide televised event, so of course they're going to try and portray things a certain way. I mean, they're also making a big deal of they're bucking tradition. If he was really going to buck tradition, they wouldn't even televise the wedding. They wouldn't publicize it. Maybe they would just elope or have a very small ceremony. I mean, what if the prince was a very shy guy that likes to keep to himself, a guy that doesn't like public attention? Would they even allow them to get married and not have them make a big deal about it, or just elope and live kind of a normal life? Probably not. There'd be a lot of pressure in the least for them to make a big deal about it. But boy, some people really got angry about that. I think because it bursts their bubble. It kind of destroys their fantasy. And I can kind of relate to that actually. It's kind of like that phrase of being red pilled versus, I think it's blue pilled. And blue pilled people, if you take the red pill, like it's the analogy from the movie The Matrix, if you take the red pill, it opens your eyes and you see the reality and you see things for as they are, which is probably not so nice. But blue pilled people are actually happier in a way because you can buy into those fantasies. You can get pleasure out of them. You can buy into those fairy tales out there like these royal weddings. And it's kind of a happier existence.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really going to go and try and seek truth and see things for what they are, you got to accept that some of your fantasies that make you happy, they're going to be burst. Some of the people that you really like and admire, you're going to look at a lot different when you find out the reality about them. And I'll give you an example from my own life. I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies. This is a guy I really looked up to, a guy that I was entertained by. But yesterday I was on Twitter and I saw some of his tweets, and he had this tweet about air pollution, and he's upset with the Republican Party, and he wants to form his own anti-pollution party. And he posted some story, I don't know, it has to do with like something about people driving, and he wants to somehow curb some of that to reduce air pollution. And you see the people responding to his tweets going, oh yeah, this guy, he's so righteous, Arnold. He has all these morals and ethics. This is the only Republican worth voting for. But if these idiots, instead of just praising Arnold for his phony acting like he's caring about air pollution, if these idiots that were praising Arnold, if they actually took 2 minutes to actually research what this guy really does and what he really believes, it's so far the opposite of what he's preaching. Arnold's preaching this gospel, but if you look at what he does, he doesn't believe in it at all. One of his big fights for years is about air pollution. And I remember when he was governor, I believe it was a newspaper, they named him as the private citizen that pollutes more than any other person in the state of California. Because what he would do is he would fly in a private jet every day instead, because in California the governor is supposed to live in Sacramento, that's where they work out of, but Arnold didn't do that. He would live in LA and every day he would commute back and forth on his private jet to Sacramento. And then this guy has the nerve to lecture us about air pollution when he was polluting the air more than any other private citizen in the entire state of California. And I remember one press conference that he was giving about air pollution. I think he was kind of trying to like limit how much people can drive their cars in California or something like that. And some reporter actually called him out on it. And they said, but Arnold, you pollute more than anyone else. You fly back and forth to Sacramento every single day on a private jet. And his answer kind of shows that Arnold is maybe not as smart as a lot of the times we think he is, because he didn't really have any excuse prepared. It's almost like he didn't expect anyone to call him out on this, but he just said, yes, I do that, but I have a good reason for doing that. My family. And I think we all know how much Arnold really cares about his family, at least his wife. But what a lame excuse. Because first of all, he could bring his family, have them live in Sacramento, or just not take the job as governor if his family's that important. But what about other people? What if people need to drive their car to see their family? Is Arnold's family more important?
Hmm.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg with Arnold. That's just showing how he preaches this message, but the guy doesn't believe it at all. Another thing that Arnold got called out on, and some people got angry. His last day in office as governor, he commuted the sentence of this guy that murdered someone with a knife, and he did it the last day in office because he doesn't really want it in the news. But the reason he commuted the prison sentence of this knife murder was he was the son of a political friend of his. His friend Fabian Nunez, the son that was in jail, Esteban Nunez. So that's all real easy for you guys to research this. And Arnold was asked about that too by the media, and he didn't have a good reason for doing it. He basically just said, "Well, I help out my friends." So, I mean, it kind of shows this guy's ethics. This guy doesn't care about the little people. He'll preach this message. He'll preach that he cares about pollution. If you take 2 minutes and look at the guy's actual actions, he doesn't believe any of this stuff.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's sad when you grow up, so many boys like me around the world really looked up to him, and you want to believe that he's this real life hero, and then you see him as a politician, even outside of his political life, just some of the things, if you find out that he's done over the years, this guy's a scumbag. Now there is good things about Arnold. There is qualities that I still believe are things that people can learn from and admire. The guy has definitely a heck of a work ethic. And the guy not only works harder than other people, but he also works very smart. He makes all the right friends. He rubs elbows with all the right people. Now, the people that can't do anything for him, I don't think he cares anything about whatsoever. But he makes sure to please his masters, and he does have masters. So you're scrolling through the comments. So now I went off on that tangent.
It's okay.
It's the
Yeah,
middle of the
so
night for us, and the reason we do this is we're trying to time it for people in America. We've been experimenting a little bit with the time of this lately, so hopefully it's a good time. But if you want to read some of those questions and comments,
well,
go ahead.
I'm just curious on your answers, guys, because I said, what is, or, what's one, or what's your happiest time of
Well, I'm not
of
sure
your
we can read
lives?
that one. That one's getting a little bit X-rated.
Well, you guys can read the comments. These are just moving fast, so hopefully we're trying not to miss anything. Let me see.
Michael says, "My girlfriend thinks you have high blood, LOL." I'm not sure what he means by that. Why does she think that? uh,
Is that like a Filipino? I guess when
unless that's an
is your
expression that I'm
girlfriend
not
a
familiar with.
Filipino?
Is
I
that an
guess when you
expression?
say like you have high blood, it's like you sound like you're angry, or yeah. So I guess that's what she meant.
I'm not angry, my children. I'm just trying to speak with passion.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay. Um,
Go ahead and,
I don't
read what's
really,
interesting.
I don't
Scroll
really
down once.
have. Let's. Uh,
Someone says, Andy says that you have new spectacles each time. I'm wondering if she even
Thank you,
needs them.
Annie de
You
Virgo.
can take
Actually,
that.
actually, I need to buy more. And
These aren't new. I think they
yes,
faded. She was just talking. They were a different color.
I have another. I have.
So they look like new glasses because they're now a
Yeah,
different color than they
yeah,
were not
yeah.
so long ago.
I have another pair, but I don't usually use it during live streams. But thank you for that.
She has some black ones too.
Yeah, I would love to buy another blue and red one. Hopefully.
Well, let me get
Um,
to the conundrum that I referenced earlier, the little conundrum, and you guys can comment on this. I'm looking for your guys' answer. And this is not a serious problem or anything like that, but it's an issue that you guys can weigh in on. There's no right or wrong answer. There's just your answer that you guys think is what's best. And that is the conundrum is Imabel and I actually got an invitation to visit Disneyland, and it would be for free. We wouldn't have to pay. Now, let me say I've never been to Disneyland. Imabel's never been to Disneyland. I know a lot of people love Disneyland, but what do you think? Is it worth going to Disneyland? Like I said, it would be for free. We wouldn't have to pay those crazy high fees to get in. I've never been. I just know it's something people I love. But the thing is, I can't imagine, even for free, that I would really want to go. To me, it just looks like a big tourist trap. I don't want to stand in line for hours just to get on a minute long ride or something like that. Also, I think people should know that I actually used to work very briefly at Six Flags, the amusement park Six Flags. And after experiencing Six Flags, I can't imagine Disneyland is anywhere near on the level of Six Flags. I would have to imagine Six Flags has the much, much better rides. Now, while I worked at Six Flags, sometimes I'd talk to some of the other employees, and some of these people were really into amusement parks. And I would say, I've never been to Disneyland, even though it's only like an hour south of LA. And I'd say, is it any good? And people would say, "Oh yeah, Disneyland is very good." These are Six Flags employees. They'd say it's very good. They'd say it's just a very different experience than Six Flags. I think Six Flags has the more thrilling rides, and I think Disneyland is a little bit more for families and just meant to be entertainment. I'm not a fan of anything from Disney. In fact, I think that company's probably an evil company. I mean, just look at how they messed up Star Wars. I mean, they totally messed up Star Wars. I heard that new movie was actually decent, but people are sick. They've they've just cheapened Star Wars. So what do you guys think? Have you guys been to Disneyland? Do you think it's worth going, especially if you don't have to pay those high fees? Like I said, to me, I just can't imagine that it's that exciting.
Well, I think for kids it is. So
But I'm not a kid.
if we'll
Am I
have
going to enjoy
if
it?
we'll have if we'll have kids with us, I would really want to go there
Yeah, maybe if
and
Saki was with us.
take the kids with us because that would be more appreciated by them. But I would still want to go. I haven't been to Disneyland yet.
Lewis says that Disney World in Florida is incredible, but he doesn't know about Disneyland. Yeah, Disney World and Disneyland, I think, are quite a bit different. There was even someone at Disney World that got eaten by an alligator, I believe,
What? Oh,
a
I
while
think I
back.
saw that on the news. It's so
I guess
scary.
that kind of makes it thrilling, the fact that you could get eaten
Uh,
by, they can compete with Six Flags that way. Matt Gustafson says Six Flags is just rides. Disney has shows and more things to look at. Even some rides are more of a show. Yeah, I've kind of heard that, but what do you like? Do you think it's something an adult man like me would want to go to? So, Andy says, I think he's disappointed in me because I came off as a Star Wars fan. I was a Star Wars fan he's a Star Trek fan. That's what he wants to let me know. Uh, so I was a Star Wars fan when I was a really little kid. Since I was a little kid, I kind of didn't care much about it. It's just been in the news. I saw The Force Awakens. I think I saw one of the other movies. I haven't seen the last two that they released. But yeah, Star Trek. My grandpa's brother is a huge Star Trek fan. In fact, he's actually the one that's responsible for getting the Star Trek stamps to be put out by the United States Post Office. So if you know about the Star Trek stamps, my grandpa's little brother actually created that movement to make that happen.
we interviewed him. We interviewed him in one of the videos,
So
vlogs that we have in America. So
he is a huge Star Trek fan. Now, I heard someone recently say the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek is Star Trek is Star Trek is science fiction and Star Wars is science fantasy. So that's probably a good way to put it. I haven't really seen any of the Star Trek stuff.
our Star Trek fans,
Those are
yeah,
the rivals of the
yeah.
Star
So
Wars
they're
fans.
rivals. Okay. And they're very good. Don't feel bad.
Michael says Six Flags over at Texas. Have you been to Six Flags there in Texas? I worked at the one in Valencia, California.
Where's the best Disneyland then? Because the invite we got is in California.
Well, there's a few different Disneylands. There's Disneyland Hong Kong, there's Disneyland Japan, Disneyland in California. I think those are the only Disneylands. And then Disney World is in Florida.
I remember I one of the TV hosts that I worked with in ABS-CBN is the top TV network in the Philippines. She said when she was a kid and she was interviewed for her visa application, tourist visa application, the consul asked her, "Why are you going, or why do you want to go to the U.S.?" And she said, "Because I want to see Disneyland." And then she got the visa. That's just a very very innocent, very honest answer. But I guess since there's Disneyland in Hong Kong, I don't really know if that's still a very great reason to go to America for that. Let's see.
We got JoJo coming from Saudi Arabia. Why don't you guys leave a comment? Let us know where you're
DATM
coming
said
from.
coffee time. That makes me feel like I want to have some coffee too.
Yeah, you guys can leave a comment. Let us know where you're watching this from. Out of all the things that I do on YouTube, I'd have to say the thing that's my favorite thing actually is doing these live streams and just chatting with you in a more personal way. And it's not so taxing on me like the other types of videos. They're so heavily editing intensive where just people don't realize all the time and energy and effort that goes into it. So these are easier to do, and I kind of find these things to be the most fun. For a while, I thought about creating a whole nother channel where all we do is live stream. I could live stream with you guys almost every day if there was an audience and a demand for it, and if there was support for it. That's how strongly I feel, but I fear I should limit it to once a week.
Well, Danielle Villacorte said he's in Canada. Jojo Bal is in Jubail, Saudi Arabia. Matt Gustafson from the beautiful North Idaho.
Anthony
That's
says,
cool.
North Idaho.
Yeah.
Very cool. I've driven through Idaho, but I've never been there. I'd
DATM,
like to go there. Uh,
Saturday Night Liveland or Liveland? Where's that?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. Anthony says he's went to Disneyland twice when he was a kid. I would imagine it's changed a lot by now. Says he enjoyed it, but he was a kid. I don't think I would pay to go there again, but if I didn't have to pay, I would go again. The thing is, I mean, I don't want to be on my feet all day long waiting in lines. I don't want to be out in the hot
It's like
weather.
a day trip, huh?
Yeah, it takes like a whole day of your life.
That's another factor because if we don't really have a lot of time, we have to, you know, you have to prioritize what have to be prioritized in terms of schedule.
Well, here's another reality to break down the illusions of things. Some of the stuff I talked about, people, especially now, there's all these travel vloggers, and I've done some travel vlogging myself, and I really enjoyed that. But at this point in my life, I don't really like traveling that much. Now we're going to have to travel for some stuff coming up, and sometimes to do what you want to do, you got to travel. But it's not as thrilling as it used to be for me. I'm at the point in my life where, man, I'd rather not travel most of the time. I don't really like, because it's never as glamorous as people think it is, or especially some of these travel vloggers. It's never really that way. It's never really as fun or glamorous as that. I mean, a lot of the times I think I just have more fun staying home or just having a simple night with the family.
Yeah.
So Juan says America is the best place to go to for Disneyland, in the one in Orlando, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks for that info.
Juan says he's in Los Angeles, though. Oh, very cool. What do you recommend to do for Imabel in Los Angeles? She was in Los Angeles.
We didn't have a lot of time there.
Yeah, you weren't there a lot, and we didn't video most of it because
I was supposed to spend one night with you there when I got, before we flew to Bismarck, North Dakota. But remember, I got stuck in Guangzhou, China because of the flight delay and stuff. So I missed that one night.
And that was a year ago when all that stuff happened.
Right.
Uh,
Black Walls 313. You've probably traveled so much that it's more of a chore than a vacation. What do you think?
Yeah, when you've done a lot of it like me, and I've been to a lot of different countries, it definitely takes a lot of the thrill out of it. Now, there is a few places in the world, a few countries outside of the United States that I would like to see, mainly in Central Asia. But other than that, I don't really want to make too many international trips. I hate those long flights. But there's a few countries I'd still like to see if it ever works out. If anything, I'd like to see different areas of the United States and
Yeah,
explore some of that
of
stuff.
course,
Mark
definitely.
the face.
Zone TV.
Anyways,
That's a long name.
Mark says he's in Youngstown, Ohio. It's afternoon here. Yeah, well, hopefully you appreciate that we're doing this. We're doing this in the middle of the night for us because we're trying to make it convenient for you guys in the Americas or in America, United States and Canada. I don't know if people are watching us from Brazil or anything like that, but he's in Ohio. Here's a question: Name TV shows that take place in Ohio. Go ahead. Tell me what TV shows. That's a pop quiz hot shot. What TV shows take place in Ohio? You know what that's from? Pop quiz hot shot.
Not sure.
You probably haven't seen that movie anyways. I'll give you a hint. It's a movie from the 1990s with Keanu Reeves, but it's not him that says it. It's the bad guy that says it.
Which
Who says
one?
pop quiz hot shot?
You answer his question.
And also tell me what shows take place in Ohio. Well, I just watched one earlier that takes place. I've been talking about another show that takes place in Ohio. But here's another question. Tell me what shows take place in the state of Ohio. But what shows take place? I was just thinking the other day, what shows take place in the state of Minnesota? Well, I can think of a few. There's Mary Tyler Moore. I've never seen that show, but I believe it takes place in Minneapolis. Little House on the Prairie takes place in Minnesota. Uh, the show Coach, remember that show Coach with Craig T. Nelson? That takes place in Minnesota. So I can think of three shows that took place in Minnesota. If I'm forgetting any, let me know. John Smith says that 70s show. Wrong! That takes place in Wisconsin. That was the next. That's
Oh.
another question that I was going to ask. What shows take place in Wisconsin? There's that 70s shows. They've been showing that on TV. There's Happy Days, of course. There's Laverne and Shirley. Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. So I can name three that took place in Wisconsin. And let's see the answers that we have for what shows take place in Ohio. And Matt says the Drew Carey Show. I've never seen that, but I guess that does take place in Ohio. Anthony says WKRP in Cincinnati.
WKRP in Cincinnati. Yeah.
Come on, guys. What other shows? These guys should be able to Google this. We can't Google this at this point. But I just watched a show that took place in Ohio today, though it takes place in a fictional town. I'm not sure if you can think of what I'm thinking about. But it's kind of fun. Like you can't really ask what shows take place in New York, what shows take place in California, because obviously there's a million. So it's kind of
And
more
actually,
interesting.
they're all most of them are shot or taped in California. It's just the setting of the story that takes place in those places. Cruz Senator said Drew Carey for Ohio. That was mentioned earlier, right? Now that makes me curious. I want to watch that show.
Someone says, where did Archie Bunker take place? I'm not sure actually. Oh well, here's the show that you guys didn't name that I'm thinking about that also takes place in Ohio. Third Rock from the Sun. I was watching that on TV earlier, and Roseanne, who's been in the news, she was on it, uh, playing an alien. But Third Rock from the Sun takes place in Ohio, though it takes place in a fictional city in Ohio. It doesn't take place in a real city, but they do state that they're in Ohio. Growing Pains, did that take place? John says Growing Pains. Did that take place in Ohio? I don't know, but now that I think of it, Family Ties is another one. Family
Oh,
Ties takes place in
why is
Ohio.
Ohio a favorite then?
Yeah, I don't know why that's such a popular, maybe just, random Midwestern place.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think I have a special affinity for Ohio myself
Mhm.
because one thing that I found out, I know a lot about my father's family's history, at least
Mhm.
quite a bit. But I never really knew much about my mother's side of the family, her history. But before her grandparents moved to North Dakota, apparently before that they were from Ohio. So there, I have an Ohio connection.
Mhm.
My friend that you saw in some of my vlogs, Doug, my college friend, he was from Ohio. Someone says there's no shortage of work in Ohio. I've been to Ohio a number of times. I've been to a number of different places there. I don't think I've ever been to Cincinnati.
Let's go then.
She's been saying we got to go to Cincinnati because the show
Let's also
WKRP
go
in
to
Cincinnati.
Cheers in
That's in
Boston.
Boston.
Let's also go to Fraser in
Michael says the
in
Jeffersons.
Seattle.
I thought the Jeffersons took place in Chicago.
You know what, guys? We love watching old shows, and I prefer watching old shows than the modern shows, the new shows on TV. So, what do you think? How about you guys?
Matt says Idaho had a very famous movie. It was so silly of a comedy that I found it stupid at first. It was very low budget, but made a pile of money. Can you name it?
Ah,
Oh boy. It's not Grumpy Old Men because that took place in Minnesota.
hmm.
But no, I can't.
Can
And
you give a
I can't
hint?
Google this while I'm on here. North Dakota, where my home state, has a famous movie too that people from there either love or they hate, and that's the movie Fargo. I'm of the group that hates it, but
Why?
and most of the movie actually takes place in
Why do you hate
Minnesota
it?
because a lot of people think it's like a documentary and they think it's real, and the people there they speak with these silly Scandinavian accents, and people think that North Dakota is like that. First of all, the movie.
It's like misrepresenting the people, the real people.
Yeah, I mean it's done for comedic effect. That's why they're doing it. They're
Mhm.
not trying to, but people think it's real. But the movie actually mostly takes place in Minnesota.
Sorry, guys, my hair
Juan
is
says go to Universal Studios in Los Angeles. She was suggesting that maybe she would want to go Universal Studios. I've been there. I used to live not far from that place.
Mhm. I was just gonna say sorry about me like trying to get rid of the hair that's being blown on my face by the
Anthony,
fan.
it's very hot in here. We got two fans going. Hopefully, it's not interfering with the audio. Anthony says the Jeffersons spun off of All in the Family, set in New York City. Yes, that's true actually. Now that I think of it, I've never seen All in the Family, but of course, it's influenced a lot of shows. Even like very recently, I would say Last Man Standing, which takes place in
Michael said
Denver.
you make feel old all these old TV shows. LOL. Well,
Oh well, they're never off the air.
whenever I watch them, I don't feel old. I don't know. I just enjoy them better than watching the new ones.
The thing is,
I don't know. What do you think?
well, the thing is, the new shows, they're actually much better done and they're much more realistic, which is good. But the problem with the modern shows are most of them are very bleak. They're just not fun. That's why a show like Last Man Standing was so popular. Last Man Standing was not what you would call a good quality show,
Hmm.
but it
Oh, I
it
like that.
and it was I
I
would
like that
admit that
show.
Last Man Standing in some ways is kind of a stupid show, but it's very lighthearted. It's a very feel good kind of show about a family, and you want to believe that this is what the average American family's like. They're not perfect, but basically they're good people that love each other, and it just gives you that feel good type of feeling that you go away with. Whereas you watch some of these other shows, they're kind of horrifying. They leave you with bad vibes versus the old shows that left you with good vibes.
Hmm. Michael, you're right. We actually watch Hits TV channel. And Renern said, as a Norwegian, I find Fargo entertaining, and I am well aware it's not how you guys talk, but the directors did a good job making it Scandinavia, one of my favorite movies, and the series are great too.
Well, my question for you would be: you say you're a Norwegian. Are you from Norway or are you Norwegian American? There's a lot of people in Minnesota, especially that are of Norwegian ancestry. A lot of people in North Dakota actually too. It's funny lately. Someone was telling me that there's this common expression in North Dakota Ufta, I think it's how it, I think what it is, Ufta or Ufta. And I said, geez, I lived in North Dakota for a very long time. I've never heard anyone
What
say
is it?
that in my entire life. And they're saying, oh, how can you be from North Dakota and not heard this? And it took me a while to figure out that's like a Scandinavian thing. People that have Scandinavian
Mm.
ancestry would say that. Growing up, I didn't know very many Scandinavian people like Scandinavian Americans except for my best friend when I was a little kid, who was pure-blooded Norwegian. But other than that, I didn't really know hardly any where I'm from in North Dakota people of Scandinavian ancestry. I'd never heard that my whole life, but people kept insisting, how can you be from North Dakota and not know that expression? I'm like, I've lived in North Dakota a very long time. I've never heard that a single time in my life. This is the first time I'm hearing it as an adult, as someone that's not even in the state right now. He says he's born in Norway and he's visited Minneapolis once in 2008. Where do you currently live right now? So I guess he is actually Norwegian. My best friend growing up, he was pure blooded of Norwegian ancestry. Super blonde. His mom was so blonde, her hair was actually pure white, which made her look extra beautiful, I would say. Blondes are very
I wonder how
popular.
she looks like now.
It's funny because his brother had a like a Norwegian name or some sort of ancestral name. His brother's name was Torger, which is obviously a very unique name. Growing up in America, you don't meet guys named Torger, but his brother's name was Torger.
Is he
So
called Torgy?
no, just Torger. And it's
Hey,
funny too
Torgy!
because he was one of those guys from a bygone era. He was a metalhead back when there was actually a subgroup of people known as metalheads. Kind of like if you see the Bill and Ted movies or Wayne's World, that kind of portrays that subculture of metalheads. So he was this guy, his brother Torger. He was super into Guns N' Roses and Slayer, all this hardcore metal. Well, that was still a little bit more mainstream and popular way back in the 1990s. And he had this super long blonde hair, and he'd wear the ripped up jeans like a Guns N' Roses shirt, and a total metalhead guy. And now we don't even have that subgroup of people.
The nerd said, I live in Norway now, but I worked and live in Taguig City, 2013, 2015. By the way, where is your friend Torgo now?
I think, well, that's the older brother of my friend Lauren. Um, I think Lauren, he joined the Navy, so I think he lives in different areas of the world. Torger, I believe, from last I saw on Facebook, he still lives in in the same area in North Dakota, so kind of the same general area. Let me see.
Norwegian polar bear, he said he had the pleasure to meet and talk to. Video logs. That's nice to hear.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Someone says the nanny Miss Vine. LOL. Do they mean Nanny Fine on the show The Nanny?
Nanny fine.
Or are
Miss
they talking about
fine.
something else?
I don't know.
But he lives in Norway. Like, how's life up there in Norway? But yeah, that's what I was thinking about recently. These TV shows, like, where do they take place? Because most shows, since they film them in California, they take place there. Although, like WKRP, most of these shows, even the shows that don't take place there, Frasier, whether it's Frasier taking place in Seattle, Cheers, even the Golden Girls, which takes place in Florida, they're all filmed in California.
Yeah. And I was just wondering, that one episode of Cheers that we just saw last night, they were in a yacht, right? At night. And he said,
Oh, that's another thing. They showed the episode of Cheers yesterday where Sam proposes to Diane, and that got me thinking too about kind of a lot what we talked about the previous week about deception and how these things they kind of like give you a template, and a lot of them in real life you wouldn't want to do that or it would never be as good in real life. And they have Sam, he takes Diane out on this yacht to propose to her in the middle of the ocean. And
yeah.
to me, these proposals, I was thinking, would men even propose to women like that if it wasn't for TV shows and movies kind of showing this is how you do it. You get down on the one knee. Now, maybe before TV shows and movies, maybe it was kind of like that, but that was a different time. A lot of the times they had a culture of courtships, and women weren't sluts that were promiscuous and hooking up with half your city. For a woman that's promiscuous, even Diane on the show, she's not what you necessarily call promiscuous, but she's no virgin. Would you really like get down on your knee? Oh, gee, will she say yes and practically beg her? And I felt like they kind of ruined the character of Sam in that scene because Sam is supposed to be this studly alpha male, this ladies' man, and now he looks kind of pathetic, almost like he's begging her to marry him. Now, it was kind of redeeming, as you pointed out, when she says no to him. He basically throws her in the water. He gives her the choice. You can get in that water or I'm going to throw you in the water. Now that's kind of politically incorrect. They probably wouldn't even have that on a show. That would be female abuse these these days.
Need some water?
Yeah. It's all this talking.
Should I get some?
I'll get it.
Okay. Well, anyways, let me check the messages. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this live stream. And we really appreciate your time because we're staying up so late just to be able to catch you guys when you're available to join us. There, let me see. Renner said, for you, Travis, it's expensive and very, very hot nowadays. Up to plus 30 degrees nowadays. We had really heavy winters, so this summer is crazy hot so far. Hi, Jack. Journey with Daryl Jack. Hello, Travis and Imabel. And hi to you and Auntie Beth. How are you guys? Jack is also part of our Patreon family. Thank you so much. And let's see. Okay, are you good?
I'm good.
Are you able to drink some water?
I think that's almost a sign that maybe we should wrap this up soon, unless you guys have a lot that you want to talk about. Better get it in now, because my throat can only take so much of this going on and on. Obviously, I do most of the talking here. She's my sidekick. She's here to help support me, and she does a great job of that.
Thank you.
When you drink your water, guys, you got to be like President Trump. You got to take a manly swig of water. Yeah, you drink water like a man. I don't know if you saw like a month or two ago, they had a clip that went viral of President Trump drinking water.
I should check it out.
He doesn't take small things of water. He really gulps it down. He takes manly sized things of water.
In public, like on camera?
I guess he's not one of those sissy boys that goes around, oh, the happiest
You
day
mean
of
like
my life.
on camera?
Yeah, on camera. They had a clip go viral.
Okay.
So maybe that's what this reminds people of when I take these big sips of water.
Well, speaking of happiest day of their lives, like when they get married, last night I got to see the replay of one of the episodes of that show. Was that again 90 Day Fiancé, right? And then one guy from Spain he said something like his wedding day was like the happiest day of his life.
We got a question from the Norwegian. He asks, are there any remote places in North Dakota where they have weird accents? Boy, that's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that. I'm from the capital city of Bismarck, which hopefully you saw in some of our vlogs. One thing I'd like to say is possibly one of my favorite videos that I've ever done is where we went to where my ancestors are from, this small town in North Dakota called Strasburg. And that was just such a great trip. We took my grandfather, who's 94 years old now. We took him to have him kind of, give us a little bit of the history of it. It's just such an amazing day there. But my grandfather is from that small town before he moved to Bismarck.
Right. And so far, we didn't really go to a remote place in North Dakota. And everyone I talked to in Bismarck...
Well, Strasburg is pretty remote.
Okay. Well, everyone I got to talk to and meet in Bismarck is Strasburg. With the parts I got to go to in North Dakota, I like the way they spoke. I like the way they speak. Very clear, not hard to understand.
If you've seen that video on my channel, if you haven't seen it, the one where we go to Strasburg, North Dakota, search it. That's one of my favorite videos out of all the videos I've done. And funny enough, that video went viral. Not on YouTube. It doesn't have that many views on YouTube. But on Facebook, it's the first and only video I've had go viral on Facebook that I've actually uploaded. Like my old Adobe video, lots of people would upload that, and that went super viral on Facebook like a long time ago. I don't even usually upload videos on Facebook, but I uploaded that, and people from North Dakota were going crazy over it, which I'm very happy about. I'm happy that it meant so much to people. Kind of
And
like
they
what we were talking.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of chicken, what did you say? Um, American adobo, travel the Wevo. He said adobo manak. You should check out the other videos.
We have a sequel to that called Sallow Sallow, so
Right.
why don't you watch that, my friend? Timothy says biggest accent you'll find in North Dakota is similar to Canadian accent.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know about that.
Which part?
I don't know about that. You can always tell Canadians because they always say "eh." It seems like after their sentence. Nice day we're having today, eh? That's a common thing. Also, they don't say about, they say aboot. Those are typical
A bit.
Canadian things. Oh, the movie was about. It was about an hour and a half.
Hmm.
It was a love story about these two people. They say about instead
Mhm.
of about. It seems. That's
Tilap-
about all I know about Canada.
yeah,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say
Don't hate me, Canadians.
tilapia and biko sounds good. That's what Jack said.
Uh, he says TV shows filmed in Ohio. The Drew Carey show. Now, was that filmed in Ohio, or was that just something that took place in Ohio? I've never seen the show, so I don't know. And for Youngstown TV news is all I know, filmed in Youngstown. I don't know about Youngstown. I haven't been there. I've been to Cleveland a few times. I've been to Toledo, which is on the border of Michigan, and
A question from Renern.
he
Do you
says
say you betcha a lot? I
you
don't
betcha, like in the movie.
betcha.
I think it's also from the movie Fargo.
He does
Do I
not
say
though.
you
I
you
I I didn't hear that from anyone I talked to in North Dakota.
no, I don't say that. I don't think I've heard anyone in North Dakota say you betcha. uh, and he said, "Did your English change a bit staying abroad?" No, not really, except there is one weird thing that I say now because I'm dealing with so many non-Americans when I speak, even on YouTube. I deal with a lot of non-Americans, and it drives Isabel crazy because she knows this is incorrect by American English. But instead of saying when I was in college, like a normal American would say, I say when I was in university, which if you say that to an American, they're like, what? What are like why did you say that? That's not correct. That
Why do
sounds
you
weird.
say that?
But Canadians say that, British people say it, like Europeans say that. Oh, back when I was in university. So sometimes I say that because I feel like if I say college, they think that's weird. But if you to an American, if you'd say when I was in university, like they would think that's really strange and incorrect. I think Family Guy actually did kind of a little bit about that. Um, there's something else that non-Americans say that I don't say. I never picked up. Instead of saying vacation, they say holiday. Oh, I'm on holiday. Oh, he's going on holiday.
Mhm.
Americans would never say that, of course. They'd say, I'm going on vacation.
Because if you want to say I went to, you say, or they say I went to university, I was at university. Usually you say I went to the university or I
Yeah.
was at the university. You could say I
You'd
went to
say back when I was
college
in college. Oh, in
or
college, I used to
yeah.
party a lot. In college, I spent so much time studying. Like you'd say, that's what an American would say. A Canadian would say, "Oh, in university, I spent a lot of time studying. In university, I went to parties all the time and picked up lots of girls." Something like that as an example. Where, like, if you say in university to an American, that they'll just think that's the strangest thing. But it's something Canadians and Europeans say.
Anthony Glass says Strasburg, North Dakota is in what's called the Russian German Triangle because it was settled by so many ethnic Germans who came from Russia.
Well,
Volga Germans.
well, you're in Texas, and they also have a lot of those there. Texas, one of the most common languages in Texas used to be German. Obviously, not anymore. Funny thing about North Dakota is there's only like 2 or 3 states in the entire United States currently where Spanish is not the most commonly spoken, the second most common spoken language in the state. There's only like 2 or 3 states. Uh, I think there's like three, maybe four at the most, that where the second most widely spoken language is not Spanish. Hawaii is one of those. I think in Hawaii, the second after English, the second most commonly spoken language is either Filipino or Ilocano, which is also a Filipino thing. North Dakota is one of the only other states in the entire United States where Spanish is not the second most widely spoken language. In North Dakota, the second most widely spoken language is German.
Cool.
Now, that's going to change, unfortunately. Because obviously the younger generations, even like my parents, me, of course, we don't speak German. We just speak English.
Why was it not passed on then?
Well, because we're Americans, all you need is English if you're an American. But now they've imported all these Puerto Ricans and they're importing all these foreigners into North Dakota. So definitely, it's only a matter of time when Spanish is going to be the second most widely spoken language in that state too, and German is going to go the way of the dodo bird, unfortunately. Unless, like, I start learning German, start a movement for everyone else. But like I said, if you grow up in America, the philosophy is all you need is English. My dad and his siblings, they just speak English. My mom, she's just an English speaker. So the younger generations, even before me, have kind of lost that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So sorry, Amabel. You were looking at something like there was a question you wanted to answer.
Not really. I was just trying to
We
read
got
the
out and
comments.
about. He says he's in Mississauga. I'm, pro-
Mississauga?
I'm probably
Mississauga?
mispronouncing that. Sorry, Ontario here, eh? So he's up there in Canada. Uh,
Matt said yes. A Canadian can be confused for a Midwest accent. It's the OU that does it. Or how do you pronounce it OU thing? Like in the word house. Ow. Ow. Okay. Ow.
uh, Someone says he would
Interesting.
avoid the upper Midwest. Why? There's a lot of great places
Well,
up there. He says
he actually says he said something like avoiding all these places. So I
says
wonder
avoid the
why.
Great Lakes,
And
but
even
the
Boracay.
Great Lakes covers an awful lot of different places. That rules out a lot of different places if you're going to avoid the Great Lakes area, because those lakes are, I think there's 5 and they're huge. They cover, could be Detroit, it could be, there's places in Michigan, there's places in Ohio, Chicago. There's so many different places that would rule out. Yeah, all he's doing is I would avoid Mexico, Canada, Europe. I would avoid Boracay. I think he wants to avoid Earth at this point, naming all these places. Let me see. Same with the French in Louisiana, I guess is what he's talking about. I haven't been to Louisiana, but I would definitely like to visit. Let me see here.
BTM said as for Trump, yes, avoid those areas.
He said avoid the Great Lakes areas. I'm
Why
not
is
aware
that?
of that. Well, Chicago. I think he's talked a lot about Chicago.
What's musk ox? Is it something you can go hunting?
Where do you go to see any musk ox? It must be some kind of animal.
But that's not for hunting, right?
I don't know. My grandpa would know about the animals there.
Yeah. Musk ox.
So I don't really know what that is. Maybe you can Google that real quick on your phone and pull that up.
Let's see.
That's something I've never heard of, but I'm not an animal expert myself.
Musk ox.
But let me see how long we've been going on here. It's probably getting about time to wrap this up. I try and keep these short.
Oh, here.
Why don't you show them on the camera what
Hold on.
that is?
Let's have a better photo of it.
I've never seen that thing there. I don't know if they
Maybe
would have
like in
those
the
wild.
museum, haven't we seen one?
I think in the zoo I've seen something that looks like that.
This.
Go ahead and show
How do I make
them.
it big? Hold on. It's small.
Oh, Matt says musk ox are in Alaska. I find them beautiful. Yeah, I don't think I
Really?
don't think I've ever seen anything like that walking around. I've seen some
Oh,
wild turkeys, deer, a lot of
that's
rabbits.
big. It's like a photo of
Oh,
a
that guy
hunter.
killed one. Yeah, that has a guy in it with scale with a hunter that killed one.
Should I show it to them?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if this is the best view of a musk ox. Oops, that's not big. Let's see.
If it'll show it. There you
There.
go. There you go.
That's a musk ox.
That thing's quite huge. I'm sure there'd be a lot of meat on that thing to
Yeah, I
eat.
just googled it. It's one of the images that showed up. So you
Uh,
can eat its meat too,
we
right?
got Nick Nimmin in the house, and Nick lives in Thailand, but he occasionally comes to the Philippines. Matt does a lot of really great live streams himself. What he does, I mean Nick's in Thailand, and he does a lot of live streams helping people grow their YouTube channels. So if you're into that, you can check him out. And I know he was in the Philippines recently, but
Hi, Nick.
we didn't get a chance to meet up when he was here last because he wasn't in our area. But hopefully we get to do that. So if you guys want to see us collaborate with Nick Nimmin, go ahead and post that. I think he just ended his live stream. He has really long live streams at night. He also, like me, he tries to time them for the United States. He's in Thailand, so he's in the middle of the night
But
doing
he's
his live
also from the
stream.
US, right?
Yeah, he's also an American.
Okay.
So, well, wow, very cool that he could jump
Anthony
in.
is giving a lot of interesting information.
See, I was right. The Germans settled a lot of parts of Texas. His mother is German and Irish from the Texas Hill County. Well, tell her Guten Tag.
Yeah, Renern has to go. Thank you for joining us.
But we should probably get going here because we've been going on. Uh, I'm just reading these last comments before we go. Hopefully, you guys can watch the beginning because we talked about a lot of important things going on. But any last words, Imabel, before we wrap it up and watch?
Nothing in particular, but I just want to remind you if we still have our wonderful members of our Patreon family here, very soon we'll be sending messages to you guys because we're preparing something. We're trying to schedule something wherein we could spend like time with you guys on Skype or something like
I
that.
actually started emailing members of our Patreon family earlier tonight. I was doing that. So if you're a part of our Patreon family, maybe you got a message from me, maybe you didn't. But I'm emailing people individually, so that takes a little while to do.
And for you guys who are wondering what our Patreon family is, every day we get a lot of questions asking for travel tips, safety advice, visa questions, and even dating advice from our viewers around the world. And of course, because of the so many questions we get, as much as we want to answer them, we cannot. So having our Patreon family helps us know who to prioritize first in addressing the questions. And of course, we are very thankful to our Patreon family because they help us keep making these videos to entertain you guys, to inspire you, and to inform you. And so, if you want to be part of the Patreon family, just pull up patreon.com/craft. And I just want to thank all of you guys for joining our live stream tonight. Hope to see you again next time. And watch out for the next videos. There are a lot of videos on this channel, not only the Travis Life vlogs, but as well as the other interesting, fun videos we have. So go check them out, enjoy them.
I want to get to a couple of these comments before we go. Car Galaxy Studios says Nick, referring to Nick Nimmin, was just saying he's back to doing reviews where he does channel reviews and gives people advice on how they could improve things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a channel that I watch a lot, probably my favorite current channel on YouTube, and this is maybe something that maybe not a lot of other people would like because it's so specific, but I watch a channel lately a lot called F-Stoppers. Now, this is a photography channel. If you're not interested in photography at all, you might not like it. But they have this show, a critique show, it's called Critique the Community, where members of their website, they send in examples of their photography, and they critique the photos. And I was thinking it's too bad we don't have a show like that to somehow critique members of our audience, but I don't know what we would critique because obviously they have something. They're a photography show, so they can critique people's work
Mhm.
as photographers. But what could you and I critique of our audience that they could submit?
Right.
That's the question. Since we do so much about dating and relationships, what would they submit? A photo of them and their girlfriend, and then we do the three,
Oh,
two, one, and we
actually,
give it
no,
a
no,
score.
actually, it could be like asking for dating advice, and they would give us a background of their concern or of their story, and
And
then
then we critique their relationship and tell them how
it's
crappy
more
it
like
is.
we give our assessment based on the information we get, if it's a promising or non-promising relationship. So that's just a thought.
We also have let me see, now I lost it. 1 second, let me see. Melvin asks, whereabouts of Travis's brother?
Are you referring to Tom?
I was thinking my cousin. Maybe he's
Yeah.
referring to my cousin because my brothers never appeared in any of these. He also says pet cat in Bismarck, North Dakota. I don't know if he's asking if my brother's there taking care of the cat, but no, he wouldn't be there. My brother does. That's actually my dad's cat, my mom and dad's cat. And from what I understand, from what I hear, my brother and the cat don't get along real well. So the cat is very temperamental. They have that
The
huge
cat
black
is
cat.
not really easy to handle. The cat is moody, but Travis is always her friend. Travis is the only person in the house that that she's always nice to.
So, but good questions, I suppose, asking where my brother is. But you've never seen him. The only thing I can think of is that you're thinking of my cousin, which my cousin looks more like my brother than he does me.
Hmm.
At my brother's wedding, actually, people heard that my brother's brother was there, but most people assumed Tom was his brother. And then me, I don't look anything like my brother, so people are asking me, "Oh, so how do you know? How do you know the groom?" But we,
Donald Russell just checked in from Vancouver, Canada.
well, there you go, guys. Thank you for joining us. We've been going on for a while, so I think we're going to call it a night. Support us on Patreon. Leave some nice words for us watching this. Share our videos. That helps out. Those are all ways to help out. If you're interested in keeping this going, like I said, I've been doing this for so long, and I have other responsibilities in life, especially as we move into new stages of our life. Yeah, you acquire other responsibilities and things that it would almost be irresponsible to focus on other things like this. So,
Yeah, and if you were not able to watch this live stream from the beginning, hopefully the recording is complete. You can still watch this, then the complete recording of this later. So you're not missing out.
okay, thanks, guys. I think we're gonna go watch a show. Lately, we've watched all 4 seasons of WKRP in Cincinnati, but now we're currently watching the new WKRP in Cincinnati from the early '90s. I think we're gonna go watch an episode or two of that before going to bed. It was lovely spending time with you. We try and do this once a week, basically. So, thank you, guys. Okay, thanks, guys. I think we're gonna go watch a show.